I had to watch my own father stay quiet while she ripped our family apart. That was not a scene from a scripted show. It was real life. Those words came straight from Jim Jones's son in a leaked voice memo. No edits, no dramatics, just pure, unfiltered pain. And what he revealed? It was more than just emotional. It was an accusation with weight. She did not just betray my father. She betrayed all of us. She tore this family apart, and he let it happen. Just let that settle in for a moment. For years, the world saw Chrissy as the loyal fiancé, the one who stood by Jim's side through it all. But according to a newly surfaced voice memo from Jim Jones's son, the truth behind closed doors was far from what fans imagined. While Jim was out grinding to keep everything afloat, Chrissy was allegedly entertaining late-night calls from Cameron. Now, after staying silent for so long, Jim's son is speaking out, and he is not holding anything back. He is opening up about the betrayal, the constant lies, the arguments that echoed through the house at night, and the moment he witnessed something no child should ever have to see. This is no longer just messy reality TV. This is family. Real. Pain. Real betrayal. A son finally sharing the truth his father never could, and what he says next will shake everything you thought you knew. Chrissy did not just hurt Jim, she shattered the very foundation of the family. And Jim, he just stood there, watching it all fall apart. This is not gossip. This is not hearsay. It is a raw voice memo that is now bouncing around from Harlem to Houston. For years, Chrissy Lampkin was praised as the one who stayed, who fought, who waited. But behind the luxury edits, flashy reunions, and high heels was allegedly a woman leaving behind emotional wreckage. And now, all of it is unraveling. Because the one voice we had never heard, Jim Jones's son, is finally speaking the truth that has been buried for far too long. He is not just speaking, he is revealing, pulling back the curtain on years of buried secrets. Let's take it from the top. Those quiet whispers that trailed Chrissy for years, the ones about something deeper than friendship between her and Cameron, Jim's right-hand man, his dipset brother, his family by loyalty. For the longest time, people brushed it off as internet chatter, messy gossip with no weight. But now, those rumors are taking a darker turn, because Jim's own son says he saw it all unfold, up close. I was just a kid, he admits, but I was not blind. I saw the messages. I saw the shift in my father's eyes after he found out. And somehow he stayed, like it was just another storm to ride out. This is no longer speculation. This is testimony. Raw, first-hand pain from someone who lived it. And the world is finally listening. It all started with a cryptic Instagram story. Nothing but a black screen with white text. You ever had to act like everything's fine, knowing the woman who ruined your childhood is in the next room? No tags, no names, just pain. But fans connected the dots instantly. Within minutes, Chrissy was trending again, but not for a comeback. This time, it was being called the Harlem House Betrayal. And as blogs scrambled for answers, they were hit with the proof. A voice memo. 47 seconds of truth. No beat, no polish. Just a grown man laying bare the scars that shaped his youth. My father was far from perfect, but the way she played him, I still cannot wrap my head around how he forgave her, or if he even did. I think he just gave up. And to understand just how deep this cut goes, we have to rewind to the beginning. The alleged affair with Cameron was never just a one-time slip-up. It was, according to those close to the situation, a 2-year emotional maze. Late-night FaceTimes. Business trips that always led to the same cities Cam was in. Hotel meetups while Jim was on the road trying to hold the family together. First, it all sounded too wild to believe, until a former assistant of Chrissy's anonymously came forward. And that is when things started to collapse. Let us call her Kesha. She was Chrissy's assistant from 2014 to 2016, and what she has come forward with is nothing short of chilling. Chrissy would claim she was heading to LA for a photo shoot, or fittings, but Kesha was the one booking those flights, and they always led to wherever Cameron happened to be performing. At first, Kesha thought little of it. That changed the night she accidentally overheard a heated phone call. It was Jim and Chrissy, and it did not sound like the usual couple's spat. One story in particular still haunts her. Jim once decided to surprise Chrissy with an early visit to her Atlanta hotel suite. But instead of a warm reunion, he walked into a room where Cam's wallet sat openly on the nightstand. No Cam in sight, just Chrissy, frozen, speechless. Kesha said Chrissy returned to her hotel room shaken and sobbing. She told Kesha to cancel all plans for the next day and disappeared before sunrise. So when this new wave of allegations hit the internet, fans were not exactly shocked. In fact, most felt they had been waiting for this confirmation for years. Social media lit up with comments that felt fictional, but hit painfully real. Not Jim's son finally saying what we all clocked back in 2012. Chrissy been moving suspect. She finessed her way into the house, the ring, and still left emotionally. Real talk, I remember that reunion episode. The way she looked at Cam, that wasn't sisterly. And just like that, the Harlem House story became the new cultural obsession. What really went down between those walls? But it did not stop there. Because what Jim's son said next pushed the narrative from scandalous to heartbreaking. In part 2 of the leaked voice memo, he shared a moment from his teenage years that rocked listeners to the core. I was 14 and I remember hearing the howl shouting through the walls. I did not catch every word, but I knew it was about Cam. I heard my father say, "You could have just told me. You didn't have to shame me like this." And her response? "I needed something real, Jimmy. You were never really here." That line, "You were never really here," hung in the air. Some say it explained everything. Others called it a dagger to the chest. Either way, it was a permanent wound finally spoken out loud. From that night on, things shifted. Chrissy stopped posting family moments. Jim's interviews became hollow. The warmth they once projected morphed into visible distance. Fans now admit the signs were there all along. They just chose not to see them. One comment summed it up perfectly. "The most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves just to keep the picture pretty for the gram." And still, Jim never once addressed the Cameron whispers publicly. Not even when Cam slipped a pointed jab at Chrissy into a track that was mysteriously wiped from streaming platforms days later. So the question now echoes louder than ever. Why did Jim's son decide to break his silence now? And how deep does the damage really go? Because what he shares in the next voice memo is even more disturbing. And it might just change everything we thought we knew about the Jones family. Something about that next voice memo explained everything that never quite made sense. Why Jim never clapped back at the rumors, why Chrissy never truly got canceled, and why everyone close to them stayed dead silent for years. That memo, dropped anonymously at 2:04 a.m., was unmistakably Jim's son, raw, emotional, and revealing in a way that shook even the most skeptical fans. "I never spoke before because I didn't want to disrespect my pops," he says, but watching him shrink year after year while she smiled for cameras like nothing ever happened? Nah, that ain't love. That's manipulation. Let that breathe. This is not just about cheating anymore. It is about the aftermath. What betrayal looks like when the cameras stop rolling, the silence, the confusion, the gaslighting, the illusion of a perfect couple. While Chrissy built a brand off love, power moves, and made-for-TV drama, Jim was, allegedly, crumbling behind closed doors. And someone was there watching the whole time, his son. I used to ask him, "Why don't you just leave?" And he'd say, "She's all I got, man." That was not strength. That was survival. Remember when Chrissy grabbed the spotlight with that proposal? Fans called it iconic, empowering, boss energy. But with this new perspective, it looks more like a move to control the narrative, to show the world she was the glue while holding the strings behind the scenes. When Jim hesitated, people said he had cold feet. But now we see it was something deeper. A battle between love and fear. And a son who watched his father slowly lose himself. And then, another bombshell. A second leak. Audio, grainy but chilling, allegedly capturing a private call between Jim and a male. And beneath all of this, the voice memos, the silence, the insiders, sits a full decade of secrets that could rewrite everything the public thought they knew about Jim and Chrissy. This was never just reality TV drama. What we are watching Now is the quiet dismantling of a carefully constructed empire. And the next chapter, the lawsuits, the public apologies, the PR cleanup, it is all coming. But before the storm fully breaks, we need to talk about the twist nobody saw coming. What Jim is about to do now that the truth is out. Because according to multiple insider claims, this was never just about love. This was survival. For years, Jim was not just living in a strained relationship, he was stuck in a performance. A long-running, high-stakes production where the pain was private, but the smiles were always ready for camera time. And sources now say he tried to leave, more than once. But every time he got close to walking away, something would mysteriously surface. A private conversation, leaked, a behind-the-scenes fight, suddenly trending, an old beef, magically reignited, and each time, Chrissy had the perfect spin, the perfect public tears, the perfect post, the perfect soundbite. She turned heartbreak into marketing, and according to a former stylist who worked closely with the couple, she had mastered the pivot. The stylist recalled one moment backstage at a reunion taping. Jim was seated, quiet, distant. Chrissy walked in, looked him in the eye and said, "Don't forget what's on the line." He said nothing after that. He just sat down. The show went on. So what was on the line? Money, contracts, reputation, or something even deeper? A version of Jim that Chrissy could expose at any moment. And this is where it gets even more tangled. 2. Industry insiders, one from a shuttered reality TV production team, and another claiming to have once managed talent from the show, allege Chrissy was building a second life. Not necessarily romantic, but strategic. She had meetings, private meetings, with networks about launching a solo project, a show where she was not the fiancé, not the sidekick, the brand. If Jim refused to play along, well, she allegedly had leverage, real leverage. Skeletons, one source said. Literally and figuratively. Of course, all of this is alleged, but then came the new audio leak. The one that dropped 3 nights ago. The voice is masked, distorted. But the words? I told her, if you leak that tape, I'm done. She said, "Baby, you've been done." Internet sleuths are convinced it is Jim's voice. And that tape? People believe it might be the lost footage from the 2014 hotel incident in Atlanta, a moment that had been whispered about for years. Supposedly erased, supposedly buried, but maybe not. Maybe it was just hidden, by Chrissy, as leverage. And if that was not enough, Jim's son posted again. No words, just a story on his account. An old family photo, ripped down the middle. One side, Jim. The other side, gone. The caption, "Sometimes peace comes with loss." Fans are spiraling. Is this the end of Jim and Chrissy? Is the house of cards finally falling? Because if what these leaks are revealing is true, Jim was never just in love. He was locked in, emotionally, financially, reputationally. And now, with the curtain slowly lifting, all the behind-the-scenes truths might finally take center stage. But here's where things take another turn. Because according to fresh insider reports, Chrissy is already working her next move. She is allegedly shopping a tell-all documentary, one where she controls the story, where she gets the final word. A strategic pivot, packaged as vulnerability. Call it what you want, rebranding, revenge, or damage control. But the public is not falling for it. Not anymore. Not after Jim's son finally broke his silence. Not after years of calculated quiet unraveled into public chaos. And definitely not after what happened next. Because now, Mama Jones is stepping directly into the fire. In a surprise preview clip from an upcoming podcast, Jim's outspoken, a mother speaks with raw conviction. "I've been told y'all she wasn't right, but y'all called me crazy." "I ain't crazy. I just saw the devil behind the diamonds." She goes in. "You ever watch your child fall in love with a storm? He dancing in lightning thinking it's a light show. But that storm was never going to stop. It just waited until he was too tired to run. No filter, no forgiveness, no more silence." Mama Jones says Chrissy isolated Jim from his family. She made holidays cold. She turned family dinners into interrogations. She even hinted, and this is the part that gutted longtime fans, that Chrissy threw away letters Jim had written to his late friend, stack bundles. That one hit different. So now, we are not just hearing it from internet rumors or anonymous insiders. We are hearing it from his son, his mother, former stylists, alleged production staff, all echoing the same truth. Chrissy was not the victim. She was the architect. Jim, just a man trying to stay afloat in a love that came with chains. And social media? It is erupting. Hashtags like Free Jim Jones, Chrissy exposed. Family First are flooding feeds. Fan-made timelines and receipts are circulating fast. Entire breakdowns charting the slow, silent collapse of the relationship. And it is not just fans, even. Celebrities are now weighing in. Rapper Mayo tweeted, "Ain't no real one letting his family drown in silence." Salute the son for stepping up. Reality star Kimbella dropped a comment under a Shade Room post. Took y'all long enough to see it. And producer Swizz Beats? He liked a fan comment that read, "Jim deserved more than staged love and real pain. So, what now?" Insiders claim Jim has already been in the studio. He's allegedly recorded an EP titled Red Flags and Roses. No promo, no announcements, just raw pain, personal truth, and unreleased emotion. Word is, it is coming soon, straight to streaming, unfiltered and unapologetic. Because for the first time, Jim might be done being the quiet ride or die, done pretending, done performing. He might finally be ready to speak his truth, his way. As for Chrissy, still no direct response. But her team is said to be preparing something, maybe a lawsuit, maybe that documentary, maybe another cryptic Instagram caption. Time will tell, but one thing is already clear. The Black Love Goals narrative that once defined Jim and Chrissy, it is collapsing. What the world thought was passion and power might have been something darker all along. Control, image, silence. And now, the people involved are done hiding. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a reckoning, because every time a silence breaks, another one starts to crack. Another truth clawing its way into the open, and we are all eyes. We are watching, waiting, wondering what else has been kept behind the curtain. Because if Chrissy could allegedly orchestrate this much chaos in broad daylight, what secrets were buried in the shadows? What pieces of Jim's life were quietly sacrificed at the altar of loyalty? And here's the real question. What would you do if you realized the love you built your whole world around was never about love at all? Was it about fame? Power? Or just survival dressed in designer, hidden behind filtered posts and TV edits?